Happy to see everybody. Hope everyone had a good summer. First day on the grass. We had meetings yesterday, checked in. Everybody did a good job with that. A lot of excitement, a lot of work to do, and we're ready to get to it. Questions?
You obviously had a few guys last year who, at this time, they were still trying to come back from injuries and all that stuff. It seems like you're pretty healthy right now. Mm-hmm. How does that change things for a coach when that stuff is kind of cleared out of the way right when you're getting started?
Yeah, I think, everyone's on their own plan as it relates to health, first off, what you're talking about, Darren. And, always do things and make decisions with the best interest of the player in mind first and then the team second. But everybody's pretty much healthy, ready to go. We understand that part of the unknown that's a known is injuries during camp and the season, so you got to be ready to deal with that. But as a whole, we're really healthy. John Gaines is going to start a little bit limited. He's coming back from the knee, but he's doing a great job. The staff, our athletic training staff did a great job with him. Our performance staff did a great job with him. He's chomping at the bit to get going. I think he took a little honeymoon with his wife this summer for not long, and he was in here every day. And they were in here every day with him, too, on vacation when I was soaking up sun. So credit to all those people to get him ready to be at this point where he's not on PUP and he's not really limited as we get going here. So other than that, we're all healthy, ready to go.
Along those lines, is everybody here?
Everybody's here. Yep. I'd hope so, Bob.
Jonathan, what was the overarching message or maybe theme that you had with in the meetings last night with the team?
This is how we're going to win games. This is who we're going to be. This is how we're going to operate on a daily basis, and we got a lot of work to do, and it needs to start ASAP.
How are you going to win games, Coach?
Oh, I'm going to keep that in between closed doors there. But, no, I think you got to keep the main thing the main thing. You know what I mean? Football is about, physical, blocking, tackling, throwing, catching, running, making plays, execution, our style of play. All those things matter. I want us to be a smart football team that we don't beat ourselves. And I want us to be a physical team that plays with great effort, great intensity, great violence, and let the chips fall where they fall. So, but that's basically kind of our mode of play. Good question.
O'Donnell, was that injury, did that happen in the offseason?
It was kind of reoccurring a little bit, but that's probably a better question for Monty. But he'll get another chance.
Anything? What are your expectations going into year 2?
Be better than we were last year. Try to improve every day. Have a better day one right now than we had last year. Have a better day 2 than today is. You know what I mean? I'm all about trying to get better every day. Like I said, keeping the main thing, holding the guys to that standard and accountability, which they're doing an excellent job with it, and make sure we're all improving on a daily basis, and we got to line up and win football games. That's the expectation.
Anything you learned in your first camp last year that you want to do anything differently this time around? Yeah,
we tweaked some things. We changed things. I'm always going to look, at everything that we do with an eye of how can we help the players out a little bit better. But what goes on, it's fascinating what goes on behind closed doors to get this thing ready. And the adjustments that I can't name everybody, but everybody that's listed. I think if you go to our website and it lists everybody by like field crew and equipment and nutrition and chefs, it's wild, right? And they've all done a great job of trying to improve for the players, right? So we made some adjustments. Walked in the hotel yesterday. I was like, wow, that's this. I know we talked about this like right as it happened, but this is better than I expected it to be. So everyone's doing their job at a high level, and ultimately to try to help the players. So I'm real excited about that, and a lot of hard work goes into setting this thing up the right way. And I just appreciate everybody.
In minicamp and in OTAs, the guys talked about the culture being in place. Does that help going into year 2 when everybody kind of knows the standard and how things
Yeah, I think there's a level of understanding that the guys that are here, they understand the expectations, and they can help other players that have just onboarded, you know what I mean? So I think we talked about it before where I say something and it might not make sense at first, but when a player says to another player, this is what they mean, this is what Coach Rogers means when he's saying that, It might hit a little bit different. They might understand. It's our job as coaches to make them understand. But I think the leadership in the locker room, that's the main reason why the culture is where it needs to be. But understand that culture is nothing but people and actions on a daily basis. So that has to be combed with a fine-tooth comb and evaluated and talked about on a daily basis. And we gotta I call it winning behavior, but you gotta behave on a daily basis to make sure that stays strong, because as soon as something gets out of alignment, myself, if I get out of alignment, or a player gets out of alignment, or decisions get out of alignment, all of a sudden you start to see the culture go haywire. So it's my job to make sure everyone's in alignment.
Jonathan, with regard to the second-year guys, do you believe that there's a big jump from year one to
I
year
do.
two? Have you seen it?
I do.
What
Yeah,
are
I
the
have.
factors?
Yeah, I do. I think the factors is the guys that make big jumps is the learning experience of playing in games, meaningful snaps, getting that experience, learning from that, good plays, bad plays, and then learning from that and improving their game. I told the staff this morning, as a coach, you put somebody out there and he makes a mistake and you feel some type of way, but the best form of learning for the players is to make a mistake and then learn from it. How do you know if you don't put them out there? You don't even know if you would have made the mistake or not. So I think that's why you see a big jump from year one to year two. And our guys, not like every year one to year two guy, they have I would say, a little bit of a luxury where they have the same staff in place, because a lot of guys, I've been on staffs where you're moving into a guy that's going into year two, it's a brand new system. So we obviously tweak things, but it's a lot of it's the same, and there's carryover. So I think that helps, just the continuity of what we're asking, what we're doing, the expectation, all of that. So hopefully they can perform a little better. But all our second-year guys, I'm excited for all of them. I think some guys are set up to make some big jumps.
What's it been like for you to coach Buda Baker? How do you feel if he's not on this team next year?
Oh, I'm not going to get into feelings in the future, Bob, but he got up and talked last night, and off the cuff. And, he's everything we're about. He practices the right way, prepares the right way. You should hear him in meetings, asks a ton of questions when he probably knows the answer, but he's probably asking the question because his buddy doesn't want to ask the question, And he's a phenomenal person, and he's a phenomenal player. So I'm glad Three's with us, and he's going to play a big part in what we do this year.
How much time did you take this offseason, and how important is it for you to get away and not think about it if you cannot think about it?
I don't know if a day goes by you don't think about it. But, I believe in taking a mental break, and having some balance, when the time is that it's allotted for. So I'm refreshed, recharged, ready to go.
You mentioned that you think that for some of the second-year guys that there's a chance for them to make that jump. Is there a player that comes to mind when you think
all
of that?
of them. I'm expecting a jump from all of them.
Did you know Buda was going to talk last night?
25 seconds before I went on.
Did he steal the show?
I'd like to think no, because I think I'm the show, but that was hubris. He did steal the show. He did steal the show. Mark he talked. Michael talked. He let us off, gave an awesome talk. This is the excitement in his voice. He's ready to go. Mark talked, and I talked, and Buda finished.
I mean, we've seen Buda talk post-game, but how common is it for him to speak up and talk?
I like for our players to get up and talk. I think that's, Buda's been was a captain last year, and we won't announce captains till we get to week one. But I think it's part of when I ask if players want to be captains, there's responsibility that comes with that, and some guys don't want that, and that's fine. But one of the responsibilities is to lead vocally at times. And he has a unique gift to do that.
Is there a player yet added to the roster to take the spot?
No.
You talked earlier about the expectations. What would a successful season look like to you?
I'm just worried about today right now.
There's a lot of changes from this time last year, obviously, with the staff and going into year two, but having Kyler now, whether that's excitement level or preparation of what this offense can look like, does it feel significantly different in that sense?
Well, it feels significantly different when you're playing with Kyler and he's your franchise quarterback and the impact that he can have on the game. Yeah, I think it feels a little different.
Is there momentum from the end of last year that can be carried over starting
you know, that's probably a better question for the players. I don't momentum. Does momentum exist? The answer is perhaps. You know, we actually did a deep dive on momentum this year. Kenny Bell did. Yes and no, if you let it, you know what I mean? But it can also be a negative thing too. So I think that how you frame it in your mind, yeah, you know, but if you're not worried about, you know, January or December, what you did there, and you're worried about day-to-day improving, probably not much.
How interested are you in seeing what Max Melton can do to maybe take a big step in his competition?
Bob, I'm interested in all 90, man. I am. You're asking me about Max Melton. Obviously, he was drafted where he was drafted for a reason, and I think it's going to be a highly competitive battle to get on the field at the corner spot, and he's one of those guys that will be in the competition.
What can you tell us about Paris?
Paris is doing great. What, as far as?
To the left side, he's going on the second year. He's a bigger guy now. Is he more of a leader? Is he more vocal?
Yeah, he's comfortable. He puts more expectations and more responsibility on himself than anybody. So I'm not really worried about where he's at, you know, mentally. Obviously, I've talked to him about, you know, he's moved positions like we talked about. But he's ready to do everything that he can to improve his game, establish his standard, what he thinks he can be, what he wants to be, what we need him to be, and then be a dominant player for us. And I think that you'll see he fits into that category of our one of those second-year players that he has not hit the ceiling yet.
Key question. Did you and your friend get the third green jacket?
Big. No. Yeah, it was a downer. 2 bad swings derailed us by me. Off the tee.
The crunching the numbers on momentum, is that looking at historical data in the NFL?
That's looking on historical data from the 1800s of war. Then going to Olympics like Paris that you're talking about, then going to all walks of life, sport. Tennis is a good thing. Golf is a good thing to study. Individual sports. Does momentum play? You know, why does Xander go bogey, par, bogey, and then birdie, 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 birdie? Is that momentum? I don't know. Maybe he just hit some good wedge shots and made some putts. But, yeah, it's something that I'm always interested in. Why we did a deep dive on it, that's a good question. You guys talk about all the time. The momentum of the game shifted on that play or that series or that, and I always thought to myself, is that real? Like maybe you can feel it, or it's an instinct that you're thinking, oh man, like you're on your heels, or oh man, you're on the attack, you're on the aggressive. Like what do you got to do to gain momentum, stop momentum, all those things. So we just wanted to make sure we're versed on what that actually is and what that means. But it's funny, if you talk to anybody in our building, is momentum real? You're going to get a lot of different answers, you know.
Do you look at it differently now as a coach than, I mean, you played for a long time and the emotions of the game can play in there. Do you feel like you look at it differently now?
You guys are drilling me on momentum now. No, I think momentum comes from doing what you're coached to do consistently, all 11 together, and typically good things happen when you do that.
What's your answer? Is it real?
Perhaps.
There's a lot of competition, obviously, across the board.
I have no idea.
You know that you guys would just love to have that. Is there any battles that you are really eager to see?
God, Tyler, a lot. You know what I mean? Because we got some good players in there, and they're ready to go to work. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in the back end, I would say the offensive line, receiver room, running back room, everywhere. Honestly, it's a feather in Monty's cap when you go to camp and you can't pencil in 53 guys. That's a good thing. I really do think that. And I think that we couldn't pencil in 53 guys. So there's a lot of spots that are open competition. And I told those guys last night, OTAs, this is kind of just a compounds from OTAs, because it's not like we just tear it down, start from scratch day one, right? A little bit, but it does build. And, you know, OTAs to me is about, you know, maximizing yourself as a player and kind of competing for your role. Training camp to me now is maximizing yourself as a player, competing, but we start to define roles as we get going because we do have to line up and play week 1. So those roles are going to start to get defined here, not just competing for your roles. And you guys are smart enough to know there's certain roles that those roles are probably already defined. But with that being said, they might be defined right now, but what happens if A, B, or C happens out there? Now all of a sudden those roles change. And so you're always, in essence, competing for your role. Some of our roles are starting to become defined, but week 1, we got to define them. And we talk about that with our team, basically daily. So, but if you're a player and you're competitive and you love ball, that's what you want to do. They want to go compete right now. So.
Getting open and catching the ball. What do you want to see from Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Get open and catch the ball and score points. Yeah. Be consistent on a daily basis with what he's being coached to do and be the player that he can be.
You talked about his release, but he has, I think you've even touched on it, he has multiple releases.
Multiple, yeah.
And you said fastball curve,
yeah.
whatever. Did you mean you wanted to maybe not use so many and just pick your 3 best?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a process that he goes through with Drew and Spencer and Connor. A lot of guys, help with that room. They all do a good job, and they all have different, viewpoints of that, And he's just going to have to go through camp and find out what really works for him on certain things, and that's what I really meant by it. It's good to have different tools in your toolkit, but I think when I said that, what I meant was it's okay when your fastball works 8 out of 10 times, throw your fastball. That's what I meant by that. So if you don't need a lot of stuff, and I kind of liken it to rushers, If you watch great rushers, if they get, double-digit sacks, most 80, 90% of their sacks are on their fastball, and then 10% are on their changeup, So that's, you throw your fastball if it works and keep throwing it and make them hit it.
You talk a lot about closing the physicality, you want the identity of the football team to be in the violence and everything. As you get, kind of the excitement in training camp going and the guys look forward to hitting each other, how do you sort of then get the message across to take care of each other as well? And,
Yeah, I mean, my goal, they know everything kind of ties into what you just asked. It's a good question. I mean, the setup of camp, keep them healthy, develop them, evaluate them as much as we can. So part of those 3 things, we have to practice the right way. But you have to practice football, and we understand there's going to be some physical days and some physical periods, and we have to see that. But there's a right way to do that with being a team. And so we got to make smart decisions when you have a decision that you got to make in a split second. I put a lot on those guys to make the right decision for the betterment of the team. So I'm not worried about it. It's an emotional game. It's a combative game. It's a violent game. I understand that stuff's going to go on. But we just got to make sure that we toe the line and don't cross the line where you're putting yourself in front of the team.
Coach's training camp begins. Where do you expect the most improvement to come from the pass rush?
I think everyone's, honestly, individual skill set. I think that was the main thing for me. We got to do a better job as coaches than we did. Rob and Derek and Nick and William Peegs, they did a good job. Book. What we studied, when we looked at different people, different guys, our guys, we always start there. What do you do well? That should be your fastball. What do you need to work on? And let's see it in a consistent basis. And then here's the plan to be consistent with improving that. So it goes into, self-awareness of what I got to work on, what I do well, and then consistency of how to make sure the strong's are strong and the weak gets stronger. So I'm excited to see our guys get to that.
Coach, how important are the details? I mean, at this
Everything.
level, I can't imagine.
Everything.
Really?
The details?
The difference between winning and losing, right? Like, the bigger guy wins, not the better technique.
Oh, boy, that if I had an hour. No, everything's in the details. That's what separates the great from the good from the bad is the details of all what you just talked about. My opinion. Maybe some people don't think that, but I do. So details of alignment, assignment, key technique, details of what's going on in your brain, what your eyes are perceiving, details of your heart rate, details of your brain, details of where your feet are, where you put your hands, details of who you're going against, details of the call, details of the environment, the score, the time of possession, all that. Details are everything. Let's go to work.